Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. If you've seen my previous video, you've seen my thoughts on God of War Ragnarok. Now, for this video, I'm going to be delving into spoiler territory and speaking about the story and some of the stuff that happens in depth. So this video is a lot of major spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled, please turn away now. 3, 2, 1, go. So, the story of God of War Ragnarok, as you've heard in my video, was emotional, meaningful, and a lot happens. We get to see how the nearness of Ragnarok affects all of these characters. And one thing I wanted to focus about in particular is Atreus. At the end of God of War 2018, Atreus learns that he is Loki, and he feels a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension, and he wants answers as Ragnarok approaches. So he sets out to find answers, but unfortunately, the tension between him and Kratos grows even larger, and that's what makes the story emotional. So I want to fast forward a bit, talk a little bit about what happens later on. We see in the beginning of the story, Atreus is obsessed with fighting Tyr. He finds Tyr eventually, but then at the end, we learn that Tyr is actually Odin in disguise. And he kills Brock. Now, Sindri blames Atreus and seems to be an antagonist. Now, do I blame Atreus for how he behaved? No, because it makes sense why Atreus was feeling anxiety, why he was desperate for answers. He didn't know that Odin was disguised as Tyr. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is in God of War Ragnarok, we get to see Kratos interact with Faye. Kratos saying his thoughts about Atreus, and that was interesting to see. We also get to see Freya and Kratos. Originally, Freya, at the beginning, the first 15 minutes, she's willing to destroy all of Midgard for Kratos. But then she realizes that killing Kratos will not change anything. And so she decides to spare him, and that was pretty emotional. The dynamic that Kratos goes through with all of these characters was really emotional. Now, in my previous video, why didn't I give God of War Ragnarok a 10 out of 10? Well, the reason being is, in God of War Ragnarok, they kept on hyping up, building up Ragnarok itself. But when Ragnarok begins, it just doesn't feel that epic. I mean, yes, you get to see all of these characters and all of these people with you, and it was pretty interesting, but I thought Ragnarok was going to be something cataclysmic. And I mean, it was big, but it just wasn't like very massive. But it was still good. I mean, I especially really liked the scene where Kratos and Thor spoke. It was very interesting to see. I really liked that. I really liked the fact that Kratos in the original trilogy, he was heartless. He was like a machine, killing everyone. And now in the Norse saga, he has a heart, and he was even able to change Thor and make Thor care. And that was some phenomenal character development. Phenomenal. Overall, going to all nine realms was great. It was wonderful. My favorite film is Vanaheim. I really liked Vanaheim. It was great. A lot to see. The realm I thought was the most unique was Niflheim. It was pretty unique. The boss fights were pretty difficult, but they were worth it. So now let's talk a bit about the ending of the story. Actually, before we talk about the ending, one thing that some fans seem to be uneasy about is that God of War Ragnarok did not provide them with all of their answers. Who blew the horn? That's one question that we still don't know the answer to. And the concept of Jormungandr, Ragnarok makes it a bit more complicated. Ragnarok deviates a lot from the traditional mythology because in the traditional mythology, Loki and Angrboda give birth. But if you've played Ragnarok, you know what happens. You know what happens. The whole Jormungandr situation apparently doesn't seem to have closure. It seems to just be a bit more complicated. So maybe some fans are not very happy that Ragnarok didn't give them all of the answers. But maybe these answers are going to be provided in the future. So now let's talk about the ending of the game. The game was building up and showing us that Kratos was gonna die. And lucky us, Kratos didn't die because that would have made it very emotional. Kratos lived and survived. And in the ending, when Kratos trusts Atreus to go on a journey of his own, that was a bold move of Kratos. Like, he really was able to trust his own son to leave on his own for his mission, and that was some good character development. So, what do I think comes next after the story of God of War Ragnarok? Well, now that the Norse saga is complete, it's honestly hard to imagine where they're gonna go from here. I mean, I think Atreus deserves a story of his own. What they may do is they may make a short game dedicated to Atreus and then a fully fledged sequel. But the thing is, if they just make an Atreus spin off without Kratos in it, I don't know how fans would feel about that. For me, Ragnarok was pretty good story, pretty emotional. Some fans were not happy with it. Some fans did not like it. I mean, it's okay to have opinions, but Ragnarok just it gave us all nine realms. It gave us a really emotional story, and I'll be honest, when they said the Norse games were only gonna be two, it was very obvious that they would have to rush the story and make it tight, and they do make it. I mean, the story like it's not very long. It sets up Ragnarok, prepares for Ragnarok, and then eventually Ragnarok happens at the end, the destruction of Asgard, the death of Thor and Odin. It's good to see. I think the story deserves to be continued. I think there should be a sequel, but I don't know when that would happen. It wouldn't be for maybe another few years. But anyways, those are my views on God of War Ragnarok in the spoiler format. It was a pretty emotional, meaningful, impactful, well-written journey for Kratos, Atreus, and everyone on board. The nearness of Ragnarok affects everyone. They all prepare for it, and I was expecting a very epic clash, like something out of this world. But what am I gonna do? I mean, we still had Ragnarok. But anyways, those are my thoughts, and my next video will be about Game of the Year for 2022. See you guys later. Bye.